Residential report writing and case studies. End of the quiz. You got a 33.3%. Okay, review. Number 1. Which of these would be the most appropriate entry in the location section of the sales comparison grid in a UAD compliant appraisal report? You said D, A, capital B, low cap S, low cap Y, capital R, low cap D, capital A, low cap D, low cap J, capital P, low cap W, low cap R, and then capital I, low cap N, low cap D. The correct answer was A, capital A, and then capital B, low cap S, low cap Y, capital R, and low cap D. Biz Road. The appraiser is required to select N, B, or A for an overall location rating, and then select at least one, but not more than two, location factors for the subject and comparables. It is unlikely that a power line would be considered a beneficial location for a residential property. Chapter 5, Location. Number 2, as per the UAD, what information is required to be inserted in the name field in the lender/client section on page 6 of the 1004 form? You said C, the AMC name if applicable, and that is correct. Number 3, a comparable property closed, settled on June 5th, 2012. Under the requirements of UAD, what would be the appropriate format to enter the settlement date in the sales comparison grid? You said A, 06/05/2012. The correct answer was C, 06/12. Note that the dates in this section of the form are formatted in MM/YY format, which is different than most other date entries on the form. A sale with a settlement date of June 5th, 2012 would be entered as 06/12. Chapter 5, Date of Sale. Try again. Start quiz. Number 1. Which of these would be the most appropriate entry in the location section of the sales comparison grid in a UAD compliant appraisal report? A, capital A, and then capital B, low cap S, low cap Y, capital R, low cap D. B, capital B, and then capital A, low cap D, low cap J, capital P, low cap W, and low cap R. C, good, or D, capital A, and then capital B, low cap S, low cap Y, capital R, low cap D. And then it jumps to capital A, low cap D, low cap J, capital P, low cap W, low cap R. And then it says capital I, low cap N, low cap D. I'm going to go with A because it's capital A for adverse and then busy road. Number 2. In the actual age section of the sales comparison grid of a UAD compliant report, an appraiser is permitted to use effective age instead of actual age as long as it is explained, true or false. I'm going to go with false. Number 3. The subject property has a 2-car attached garage. Comp 1 also has a 2-car attached garage. What should the appraiser enter in the sales comparison grid in the adjustment field for this item? A, 0. B, no. Add J, low cap A, low cap D, low cap J. C, same. Or D, this field should be left blank. I'm going to go D. This field should be left blank. Finish. You got 100%. Residential report writing and case studies. Chapter 5, the Uniform Appraisal Dataset, page 66. Summary. For residential appraisers, the Uniform Appraisal Dataset, UAD, is the most meaningful and important component of the Uniform Mortgage Data Program, UMDP. While most of the requirements of the UMDP apply to lenders, the UAD applies to appraisers and will change the way appraisals are reported. At this time, appraisals for conventional loans, FHA, and VA loans are required to comply with these standardized data requirements. At this time, only appraisal reports reported on the 1004, 2055, 1073, and 1075 forms will be required to be UAD compliant. UAD requirements are in addition to the minimum report content requirements of USPAP. In no way does UAD take the place of USPAP. These standardized requirements for reporting ratings for items like view, condition, and construction quality should make appraisal reports more consistent and should limit, but not eliminate, underwriter or AMC questions or requests for additional information after reports have been submitted. And end of chapter quiz is up next. Click here if you would like to open this chapter as a PDF, which you can then print or save to your device. Chapter 5, end of page. Start quiz. Number 1. Which federal government entity currently has oversight over Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? A. HUD, B. FDIC, C. FHFA, or D. ASC? Well, I think D is the appraisal subcommittee, so that doesn't make sense. FDIC is like the federal something, I don't remember. I'm going to go A with HUD. Number 2, the appraiser should enter a neighborhood name is an example of A requirement, B, an instruction, or C, neither of these. I'm going to go an instruction, B, because it says should. Number 3, an appraisal on which type of property completed for a Freddie Mac lender would not be subject to the requirements of the UAD. A duplex, B, a condominium unit, C, a unit in a planned unit development, PUD, or D, a single family dwelling with an accessory unit. I'm going to go D, a single family dwelling with an accessory unit. Number 4, when implementing most of the reporting requirements of the UAD, an appraiser is required to blank. A, memorize lists of pre-approved abbreviations. B, select entries from prepared lists. C, understand computer programming language. Or D, prepare the appraisal report within 24 hours of the property inspection. I'm going to go B, select entries from prepared lists. Number 5, the subject property has a 2-car attached garage. Comp 1 also has a 2-car attached garage. What should the appraiser enter in the sales comparison grid in the adjustment fields for this item? A, 0, B, no, low cap D, low cap A, low cap D, low cap J, no like adj, C, same, or D, this field should be left blank. We just did that one, so D. Number 6, which of these is a valid architectural style under the UAD? A, 2 stories, B, brick, C, rambler, or D, all of these? I'm going to go C, rambler. Number 7, if a home has 3 full bathrooms and 2 half bathrooms above grade, how must the appraiser indicate the bathroom count according to the UAD. A, 3.75. B, 3 divided by 2, or that's a plus sign. It's a 3 plus 2. C, 4, or D, 3.2. I'm going to go D, 3.2. Number 8. The uniform appraisal dataset changed blank. A, input requirements for certain fields on appraisal report forms. B, the appearance of the 1004, 1073, 1075, and 2055 forms. C, the way FHA appraisals were developed and reported. Or D, nothing. I'm going to go A. Input requirements for certain fields on appraisal report forms. I'm not 100% on this one because B sounds pretty good too. Number 9. In the actual age section of the sales comparison grid of a UAD compliant report, an appraiser is permitted to use effective age instead of actual age, as long as it is explained, true or false. That's going to be false. We just did that. Number 10. In order to standardize data in appraisal reports, the UAD requires A, significant revisions to the GSE appraisal report forms. B, all appraisal reports must be submitted by the appraiser directly to the GSEs. C, standardize abbreviations to allow more information to fit on the forms. Or D, all appraisals must include an interior inspection. I'm going to go C. Standardize abbreviations to allow more information to fit on the forms. Number 11. Tom is appraising a single-family home with an accessory unit. The home is occupied by the property owner, and the accessory unit is vacant. Under occupant on the 1004 form, Tom must A, check the owner box, B, check the tenant box, C, check both the owner and tenant boxes, or C, leave this section of the form blank. I'm going to go A, check the owner box. Number 12. Which party is ultimately responsible for compliance with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac policies and initiatives? A, the seller. B, the lender. C, HUD. Or D, the borrower. I'm going to go with B, the lender. Number 13. Which document would be most helpful for an appraiser in understanding the requirements of the Uniform Appraisal Dataset UAD? A. The Yellow Book. B. HUD Handbook 4150.2. C. UAD Appendix D. Or D. The Dictionary of Real Estate Appraisal. I'm going to go with B. HUD Handbook 4150.2. Number 14. In an appraisal report prepared under the UAD, how is a 3/4 bathroom to be considered in the room count? A. As a full bathroom. B. As a half bathroom. C. It is not to be counted. Or D. None of the answers shown. As far as we're doing it, we count it as a full. Number 15. Robert receives an assignment to appraise a single-family home for a conventional loan for a lender who sells loans to Freddie Mac. Compliance with the requirements of the UAD would be A. Optional at the lender's discretion. B. Suggested but not required. C. An assignment condition. Or D. Optional at the appraiser's discretion. I'm going to go C. An assignment condition. Assessment completed. Finish. You scored an 80%. You needed 75%. Number 1. Which federal government entity currently has oversight over Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? You said HUD, and that is incorrect. It is C. FHFA. The Federal Housing Finance Agency was given regulatory oversight over Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Chapter 5, History. Number 2. The appraiser should enter a neighborhood name is an example of, you said, an instruction, and that is correct. Number 3. An appraisal on which type of property completed for a Freddie Mac lender would not be subject to the requirements of the UAD. You said a single family dwelling with an accessory unit, and that is incorrect. The correct answer was A. A duplex. The UAD applies only to single-family dwellings. Single-family dwellings with an accessory unit, units in a planned unit development, PUD, or condominium units. Chapter 5, UAD, Applicability. Number 4. When implementing most of the reporting requirements of the UAD, an appraiser is required to blank. You said B. Select entries from prepared lists, and that is correct. Number 5. The subject property has a 2-car attached garage. Comp 1 also has a 2-car attached garage. What should the appraiser enter in the sales comparison grid in the adjustment field for this item? You said D. The field should be left blank, and that is correct. Number 6. Which of these is a valid architectural style under the UAD? You said C, Rambler, and that is correct. Number 7. If a home has 3 full bathrooms and 2 half bathrooms above grade, how must the appraiser indicate the bathroom count according to the UAD? You said 3.2. D. That was D, the answer for D. And you answered correctly. Number 8. The uniform appraisal dataset changed blank. You said A. Input requirements for certain fields on appraisal report forms. And that is correct. Number 9. In the actual age section of the sales comparison grid of a UAD compliant report, an appraiser is permitted to use effective age instead of actual age as long as it is explained. You said false, and that is correct. Number 10. In order to standardize data in appraisal reports, the UAD requires, you said C, standardize abbreviations to allow more information to fit on the forms, and that is correct. Number 11. Tom is appraising a single-family home with an accessory unit. The home is occupied by the property owner, and the accessory unit is vacant. Under occupant on the 1004 form, Tom must, you said A, check the owner box, and that is correct. Number 12. Which party is ultimately responsible for compliance with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac policies and initiatives? You said B, the lender, and that is correct. Number 13. Which document would be most helpful for an appraiser in understanding the requirements of the Uniform Appraisal Dataset, UAD? You said B, HUD Handbook 4150.2, and that is wrong. The correct answer was UAD Appendix D. Many documents are available on Fannie and Freddie's websites. For appraisers, the 2 most important documents are Field-Specific Standardization Requirements, Appendix D, and the UAD FAQs, Chapter 5, UAD Online. Number 14. In an appraisal report prepared under the UAD, how is a 3/4 bathroom to be considered in the room count? You said A, as a full bathroom, and that is correct. And number 15, Robert receives an assignment to appraise a single-family home for a conventional loan for a lender who sells loans to Freddie Mac. Compliance with the requirements of the UAD would be, you said C, an assignment condition, and that is correct. Chapter 6, Other Form Reporting Options, page 1, Chapter Overview. In this chapter, we will address some of the more common residential report forms produced by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. We will also address some USPAP frequently answered questions that relate to appraisal updates and appraisal reporting. Chapter 6, Learning Objectives. Upon completion of this chapter, participants will be able to identify various Fannie Mae / Freddie Mac appraisal reporting forms and their applications. B. Describe differences between the URAR form and other commonly used report forms. Discuss the use of addendum and reinspection forms that are not appraisal report forms. End of page. Residential report writing and case studies. Chapter 6, Other form reporting options. Page 2, Other report forms. When Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac revised the URAR form in 2005, they also revised their entire suite of residential appraisal reporting forms. As a result, most of the Fannie / Freddie appraisal report forms look very similar to the URAR form. In this chapter, we will look at several of these forms. However, rather than going over these forms in detail, we will instead highlight some of the differences among each of these forms and the URAR form. End of page. Residential report writing and case studies. Chapter 6, Other form reporting options. Page 3, Exterior only inspection residential appraisal report. Fannie Mae 2055 form dated March 2005. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac consider the level of detail required by the 2055 form to be consistent with the minimum content requirements of an appraisal report. This form is designed to report the results of an appraisal of a single-family home or PUD unit based on an exterior-only inspection of the subject property. This type of assignment is perhaps more commonly known by appraisers as a drive-by or ride-by appraisal. The pre-printed scope of work statement on this form specifies that the appraiser must perform an exterior inspection of the property, at least from the street. No interior inspection of the home is required. This form looks very similar to the URAR form. So similar, in fact, that an appraiser or client may have trouble telling them apart at first glance. The 2055 form even has sections for the cost and income approaches. Below is one of the few differences between the 2055 form and the 1004 form. It shows a box, sources used for physical characteristics of property. The first box is appraisal files. The second box is MLS. The third box is assessment and tax records. The fourth box is prior inspection. Okay, I had trouble reading that. And the fifth box is property owner. Underneath that, there's a box for other, describe, and then down from that is data sources for gross living area. The major difference in the report forms is that on the 2055 form, the appraiser must document the source of the information used to determine the subject property's physical characteristics. On a full inspection appraisal, this information is obtained through the appraiser's interior and exterior inspection of the subject property, which usually includes measuring the improvements. Conversely, for an exterior only inspection appraisal, the appraiser will obtain this information from other sources to facilitate intended users' understanding of the appraisal process. The appraiser is required to identify the data sources used to obtain this information in the report. There is also an additional blank where the appraiser must state the specific source for the gross living area, GLA. Naturally, these information sources must be considered reliable. The appraiser must ascertain that all of the information used in the appraisal process has been collected and verified from reliable public or private sources. If information regarding the subject property's physical characteristics is not available or cannot be verified as reliable, this type of residential appraisal cannot be completed. The integrity of the appraisal process must not be compromised. The appraisal development must produce a credible opinion of value for the intended use, even though the appraiser did not make an interior inspection of the improvements. Scope of work. The scope of work for this appraisal is defined by the complexity of this appraisal assignment and the reporting requirements of this appraisal report form, including the following definition of market value, statement of assumptions and limiting conditions and certifications. The appraiser must, at a minimum, 1. Perform a visual inspection of the exterior areas of the subject property from at least the street. 2. Inspect the neighborhood. 3. Inspect each of the comparable sales from at least the street. 4. Research, verify, and analyze data from reliable public and/or private sources. And 5. Report his or her analysis, opinions, and conclusions in this appraisal report. The scope of work section of the report on page 4 also differs slightly from what appears on the 1004 form. This reflects the fact that the appraiser is not required to make an interior inspection of the subject property. A short quiz is coming up next. End of page. Number 1. Fannie Mae last revised their forms in A. 1998, B. 2005, C. 2008, or D. 2012. I'm going to go with B. 2005. Number 2. What is the major difference between the Fannie Mae 1004 form and the 2055 form? A. The 1004 is 6 pages and the 2055 is 4 pages. B. On the 2055, the appraiser must document the source of information for the subject's GLA and physical characteristics. C. They are the same form. Or D. The 2055 has no cost approach section. I'm going to go with B. On the 2055, the appraiser must document the source of information for the subject's GLA and physical characteristics. Number 3. Which statement is true regarding gross living area, GLA, in an exterior only inspection appraisal for Fannie Mae? A. The appraiser must identify the data source for the GLA information in the appraisal report. B. The appraiser must physically measure the improvements and calculate GLA. C. The appraiser is permitted to estimate the GLA based on what appears to be from the street. Or D. The lender/client must provide an accurate GLA to the appraiser. I'm going to go A. The appraiser must identify the data source for the GLA information in the appraisal report. But it might be D. Finish. You scored 100%. Continue. Residential report writing and case studies. Chapter 6. Other form reporting options. Page 5. Manufactured home appraisal report. Fannie Mae Form 1004C. Freddie Mac Form 70B. Dated March of 2005. As with their other report forms, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac consider this form to be consistent with the minimum content requirements for an appraisal report. This reporting form is used exclusively for the appraisal of a HUD code manufactured home, which is a home constructed on a permanent chassis in accordance with the national construction standards enforced by HUD. Both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac require the appraiser to document certain information that relates specifically to HUD code homes. The 1004C form is not intended to be used to report an appraisal on a modular home or a panelized, pre-cut, or kit home. There is a HUD labels and a HUD data plate affixed to every HUD code home, which includes specific information that is to be included in the report. The HUD label is a metal tag, usually red in color, with 3 letters and usually 6 or 7 numbers stamped on the label. This label is attached to the exterior siding of the home. If there are multiple sections to the home, there will be a HUD label affixed to each section. The label serves as notice that the individual sections have been constructed to meet the requirements of the National Manufactured Home Construction and Safety Standards Act of 1976, also known as the HUD Code. This code is monitored, updated, and enforced by the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. No manufactured home may be shipped from the factory unless it complies with the HUD code and receives a HUD certification label from an independent inspector. All manufactured homes constructed in the U.S. today must meet HUD code requirements. The HUD data plate, also called the compliance certificate, is found in the interior of the home. The data plate is usually an 8-inch by 10-inch piece of paper which should be affixed to an interior wall. It can appear virtually anywhere inside the home, but is often found inside a closet, inside a kitchen cabinet, or under the sink, or on the inside cover of the electric circuit breaker box. This data plate will contain some very specific information relating to the home's construction process. For example, in addition to the manufacturer's name, the unit's serial number, the date of manufacture, and the HUD label number should be identified. Equally important information will be noted on the plate concerning the amount of insulation that was installed in the home, the roof load capability for the home, and the ability of the sidewalls to withstand wind velocity. The location where the manufactured home was constructed will determine how it was constructed and the requirements to which it was built. The data plate information is specific to each individual manufactured home. End of page. And it shows the manufactured invoice. Let me take a break.